John Candy had a gift for bringing out the best in his co-stars, which is why so many of them loved working with him. But what was the comedy icon really like when the cameras were off? Here's what those who knew him best had to say. John Candy and Eugene Levy performed together so much throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s that they effectively formed a comedy team. Their tenures on SCTV overlapped by 3 years, and they'd both appear in Going Berserk, Armed and Dangerous, and many other films. Collaborating so often could only come from a tight friendship. Levy told the National Post in 2019, "I loved John dearly. We were very, very close friends. I think I worked with John more than anybody else in TV and on 4 or 5 movies."
He was truly one of the funny guys, naturally funny.
Levy harbored a deep respect for Candy, both personal and professional. He added, "John was a lovely man, first of all, who cared deeply about people. And he was, I think, one of the most gifted comedic actors that honestly has ever been in the business. He made such an impact in his movies, and people truly loved him. It always seems like John is still around."
Who he really was kind of came through in everything that he did.
Catherine O'Hara got her big break as a comic actor in the 1970s with the Toronto branch of the Second City comedy troupe, the same place where Candy launched his career. O'Hara recalled to People, "He would always be willing to do an improv with me after the show, and he was always willing to try any idea." They appeared in sketches on the television adaptation SCTV together, and several movies, including the mockumentary The Last Polka. As O'Hara told the National Post, the actor was every bit as kind, fun, and lovable as people might expect. He also had a playful side too. O'Hara told the outlet, "You'd be on the street with him in a mall, and somebody would come up and just want to do a comedy bit with him, and he would always pick up on it right away and give something back and see their eyes light up like, 'Oh, I'm doing a bit with John Candy.'" Before they both became movie stars, Candy and Martin Short were Canadian comedy icons. They appeared in countless sketches together in the various incarnations of SCTV that aired throughout the late 1970s and early 1980s, as well as in the Canadian comedy films like Really Weird Tales and others. Short said in a speech to the Hudson Union Society in 2015,
"He was affable, he was funny, he was a brilliant comedian, a brilliant actor."
Candy often played characters who were warm and gregarious, and very unsubtle in their feelings. In that regard, according to Short, Candy didn't have to act very hard. In the documentary Tell Me About John, Short had this to say about his old friend. "The thing about John was what you saw on the screen was basically John." In 1984 and 1985, Tom Hanks starred in 4 comedy movies, and 2 of them, Splash and Volunteers, featured supporting performances from Candy. Candy's rise to stardom came just before Hanks did, and before filming Splash, Hanks was uneasy about sharing the screen with a comedy titan like Candy. Hanks told a TV station in 1984, "I was such a big fan of both John and Eugene Levy for their work on Second City that I was a little bit trepidatious about going into this, quite certain that they could blow me off the screen without too much effort."
That was scary.
Once the cameras started rolling, however, Hanks found it tough to control his emotions. Hanks explained,
When we were doing the scenes, my attention gravitated so much that I had trouble not laughing at what he was doing. He's a very funny guy.
5 years after Candy's death, Hanks reflected on his co-star's charm on Inside the Actor's Studio and called Candy a great gift to humankind.
And I must say the gregariousness that he had was actually born of just how big his heart was.
When director Mel Brooks plucked Bill Pullman out of a play to portray the hero Lone Star in 1987's Spaceballs, it was the actor's first ever significant film role. Most of his scenes were opposite Candy, who played the Chewbacca spoofing dogman Barf.
"Gimme paw!"
Pullman was such a newbie that he had a hard time talking to any members of the crew or cast. That is, until Candy invited him to have lunch in his trailer. It was there that Candy gently teased him in an effort to draw Pullman out of his shell. Pullman recalled to the New York Times, "He was both calling me out for being quiet and making me feel noticed, secure." Later on, Candy approached Brooks and persuaded him to give more laugh lines to Pullman's character. Pullman told the Times, "John was feeling that, as scripted, most of the funny lines were being given to Barf, and he suggested I might take one of the wisecracks. I have never forgotten John Candy's generosity. He showed me how to be a gentle leader. He lightened my load. He had my back." Candy played the small but crucial role of Gus Polinski in the 1990 holiday blockbuster Home Alone. He's the leader of a polka band traveling through the Midwest via van who helps reunite Kate McAllister with her accidentally abandoned son Kevin. Macaulay Culkin played Kevin, while his real-life brother Kieran Culkin, about 7 years old at the time, had a minor role as his character's bedwetting cousin Fuller. All of Candy's scenes were with O'Hara, and he was only on the set for one day. Kieran Culkin told Esquire, "Most of what he did in Home Alone was improvised. The man was brilliant." Culkin also sought out Candy with what limited time he had. He said, "I only met him once as far as I know. I remember going in the trailer and seeing him and was just starstruck. I don't remember anything specific except that he was really nice. That's all. And I was like, I love this guy."
Because I'm the real article. What you see is what you get.
John Hughes directed 1987's Planes, Trains, and Automobiles from his own script. Even though it would have been a 4-hour-plus movie if nothing had been cut, Hughes welcomed improvisation from stars Steve Martin and John Candy, playing complete opposites who wind up stuck in a comically tedious Thanksgiving travel situation together.
I was having a perfectly nice trip until you walked into my life.
Some of the most memorable moments in the film came from ad-libbing by Martin and Candy in particular. One improvised bit includes when the duo accidentally wind up intimately snuggling together, mistaking body parts for pillows.
Those aren't pillows.
While appearing on the Fly on the Wall podcast, Martin reflected on how Candy was constantly making him laugh during filming. He said, "He would make me laugh so much. He would do a Gladiator movie, like an Italian-dubbed Gladiator movie, where he would say the line in Italian and his lips would keep moving like it was dubbed."
He was so sweet and we got along so great.
Toward the end of the film, Candy's character tells Martin's character that the reason he's so annoyingly clingy is because he's grown extremely lonely since the death of his wife, whom he had spoken about in the present tense throughout the movie. In the documentary Steve, Martin became emotional as he recalled shooting the scene with Candy.
We're at a train station and he gives an entire explanation of his life. And I was opposite him. I was like weeping as he was performing it.
In the 1984 romantic comedy Splash, Daryl Hannah plays Madison, a mermaid who falls in love with a human man, Alan, played by Tom Hanks. John Candy landed the role of Alan's sleazy brother Freddie. During the filming of Splash, Hannah and Candy quickly became close friends and even developed a two-person comedy act. Hannah told Empire, "He was just so full of heart and soul, and so hilarious. Tears coming out of your eyes, pee your pants hilarious. I used to sit in his lap all the time and he would talk for me and I'd mime what he was saying like a ventriloquist doll. He'd answer questions for me in interviews." Hannah and Candy stayed in touch over the next decade, and Candy's death in 1994 spelled the end of a comedy film they'd long been planning to make together. Bill Murray's life in comedy began in earnest in the 1970s, when he was accepted into the Chicago branch of Second City, the renowned live sketch and improv comedy troupe. Fortunately for Murray, his tenure with the troupe was beginning just as Candy was starting his professional comedy career. In fact, even though Candy was a member of the Toronto branch of the troupe, he would often perform on stage at Second City, Chicago. Murray told the Minnesota Spokesman Recorder in 2016, "John Candy and I started the same week, and the other actors hated us." The actor wasn't really sure why, but it allowed him a chance to connect with Candy on stage and hone their skills together. Murray said, "He and I improvised together every night because they didn't want to have anything to do with us." Less than a decade later, they co-starred in the 1981 comedy Stripes. Murray said, "He was really great to work with. He was a real good guy."
You might have noticed I've got a slight weight problem.
No.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
After becoming the sweethearts of the Winter Olympics, the 1988 Jamaican bobsled team went on to be the focus of a gently fictionalized biopic, 1993's Cool Runnings. Candy portrayed the team's gruff coach Irv, while Malik Yoba and others played the bobsledders.
Gentlemen, this is a bobsled. Sort of.
As the most experienced actor in the film by far, Candy went out of his way to connect with the cast and to make them feel important. Yoba told Entertainment Weekly, "The first dinner I remember having was John Candy inviting us all to dinner. He picked up some music that he thought represented each character and gave it to us. I remember thinking that was a classy move. The long and short of it, he was a beautiful guy." In 1991, John Candy ventured into a dramatic role with Only the Lonely. He portrayed a lovelorn middle-aged man dealing with an overbearing mother, portrayed by Hollywood legend Maureen O'Hara. A modestly budgeted film, producers claimed that there wasn't a lot of money to make any of the actors besides Candy comfortable. Jim Belushi, who also appeared in the film, recalled in an interview that the production company gave Candy a big trailer, while O'Hara was stuck with a tiny one. According to Belushi, Candy was stunned and said,
"Okay. I see. All right, Maureen will take my trailer and I will be in the honey wagon.
Candy's decision to take a tiny trailer with little more than a cot and a mirror embarrassed the production so much that they eventually brought in another big trailer that was just for him. Writer-director John Hughes clearly appreciated working with Candy, as he cast him in 7 of his film projects. One of their last collaborations was the 1989 comedy Uncle Buck, in which Candy played a slovenly and obnoxious relative called in to watch his brother's children, to the chagrin of almost everyone. This included a nosy neighbor played by Laurie Metcalf. Metcalf hadn't made many films at that point, so Uncle Buck was a nerve-wracking experience for her, particularly a scripted dance scene with Candy. However, the other actor put her at ease. Metcalf told People, "What I found helpful at the time was to drill the scene over and over, but he was so patient and generous with me, and that's what we did." That for me sums up how big-hearted he was and what a sweetheart he was. He just taught me a lot about being a great scene partner.